that cameras too. So you'll see.
Did he threaten you or anything?
Nah, I never talked to him.
Okay.
No
contact.
never talked to him. Thank you, Chief. Nah, I didn't get out the car. I didn't talk to him. None of that. It's just the point of harassing people.
Does he live in your town?
More drama in Dolton tonight. The state agency that regulates local law enforcement in Illinois says Mayor Tiffany Henyard's handpicked police chief is not right now legally qualified to run the department or even serve as an officer.
Does he live in your town?
Nope.
No?
He's one of them YouTubers that just like, how can I feel? Jump up on.
What started as a routine town hall meeting in the quiet suburb of Dolton, Illinois, quickly spiraled into chaos, leaving residents and officials stunned. Mayor Tiffany Henyard found herself at the center of a storm of heated arguments, accusations, and public outcry, all captured on camera. The dramatic footage, now viral, has cast a harsh spotlight on Henyard's controversial leadership style and alleged misuse of power. The incident has sparked outrage both within Dolton and beyond, with many questioning her ability to lead a community already grappling with significant challenges.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard says she is running for re-election. She made the announcement on social media to inbox her. Henyard says she is endorsing a new board, but not announcing who they are just yet, instead promising to name them later this month. Henyard is under investigation by the FBI for alleged misconduct.
What began as a routine Dolton town hall meeting to discuss community issues, budgets, and plans quickly unraveled into chaos as tensions escalated shortly after Mayor Tiffany Henyard took the podium. While the exact cause of the confrontation is unclear, speculation points to recent allegations against Henyard, including claims of financial mismanagement and abuse of power. In the now viral video, Henyard is seen raising her voice, ignoring trustees' questions, and angrily responding to community members voicing concerns about her leadership. Her defensive and occasionally dismissive demeanor seemed to inflame the already agitated crowd, as complaints about her administration from both officials and residents only deepened the divide.
In South Suburban Dolton at the village board meeting tonight, embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard spoke out after public comments addressing respect in the meeting.
You have to give respect and word to speak. A lot of you come to this mic talking about nothing. And when I say nothing, you're talking about Tiffany.
The mood grew volatile as tensions escalated during the Dolton town hall meeting. According to reports, several residents protested and demanded answers from Mayor Tiffany Henyard about alleged unethical decisions, with many in the community echoing their concerns. Some local trustees accused Henyard of acting combatively and disregarding the town's best interests. While the incident shocked some, many Dolton residents were not entirely surprised as Henyard's confrontational response, loudly dismissing critics and challenging anyone who questioned her actions, seemed in line with her contentious leadership style. The chaotic exchange reflected a growing mistrust among residents, who have increasingly criticized Henyard since she took office. Allegations of financial mismanagement, corruption, and an autocratic approach to governance have plagued her administration. Among the most serious claims is the alleged misappropriation of public funds, with reports suggesting that municipal resources intended for community development and services have been misallocated or remain unaccounted for. Some trustees allege that Henyard has redirected funds toward personal projects while neglecting critical community needs, leaving residents questioning where the town's money is going, particularly as infrastructure and public services continue to deteriorate. Mayor Tiffany Henyard has been accused of fostering a culture of intimidation within Dolton's government, compounding the town's financial difficulties. Several trustees claim Henyard has resorted to blackmailing officials and residents who oppose her policies, allegedly using her authority to suppress dissent and maintain control. These serious accusations are further exacerbated by a string of recent lawsuits filed against Henyard, which have added to the strain on her already embattled administration. In the now viral video from the town hall meeting, widely shared on social media and news networks, Henyard's behavior has been described as confrontational and belligerent, particularly toward those challenging her leadership. The footage captures her raising her voice, dismissing concerns, and aggressively addressing critics, painting a troubling picture of her governance style. The video captures moments that seem to validate the complaints of Dolton residents, who have long accused Mayor Tiffany Henyard of being distant, hostile, and unyielding. In one particularly troubling instance, Henyard is visibly upset as she dismisses a trustee's concerns about potential misallocation of city funds. During the heated exchange, she allegedly shouted, "You don't know what you're talking about," before demanding that the trustee sit down. Many viewers have interpreted this contemptuous behavior as evidence of Henyard's lack of accountability and disregard for the democratic process. Following the incident, several trustees have gone on record to express their concerns about her leadership and the growing mistrust in her administration. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's behavior has been widely condemned as unacceptable and detrimental to the effective operation of Dolton's local government. James Walters, a prominent member of the town council, stated, "This is not how a leader should behave. The mayor's role is to unite us, not divide us." Walters further criticized Henyard's inability to engage positively with the community and her tendency to escalate conflicts instead of seeking solutions. The fallout from the incident has sparked significant online attention, with the hashtag Henyard meltdown trending and drawing hundreds of comments expressing outrage, amusement, or deep concern over Dolton's leadership. One resident called the situation a disgrace, while social media platforms were flooded with posts from both Dolton residents and outside observers sharing their reactions. How can we trust a leader who cannot answer straightforward questions from her own constituents? One commenter wrote. Another went so far as to describe Henyard's actions as disastrous and called for her resignation. The majority of social media reactions have been critical of Mayor Tiffany Henyard's behavior, with many demanding accountability for what they see as a blatant display of arrogance and disregard for the community. The viral video has also captured the attention of political pundits, sparking broader discussions about transparency and accountability in local government. Some commentators suggest that this incident could serve as a turning point for Dolton, inspiring residents to demand higher standards from their elected officials and fostering a renewed emphasis on ethical leadership and community engagement. The fallout from the incident may extend far beyond social media criticism. Both during the town hall meeting and throughout her administration, Dolton citizens and trustees have intensified their calls for an investigation into Mayor Tiffany Henyard's conduct. Some trustees have even suggested pushing for a formal inquiry into Henyard's alleged misuse of public funds and abuse of power. Legal experts have weighed in, noting that if evidence emerges proving she used her position to suppress dissent or misappropriate public resources, Henyard could face significant legal consequences. Her actions during the town hall meeting in particular may raise serious questions about potential abuse of authority, further fueling demands for accountability.
You really are fans of mine, and I appreciate that, because normally you will come up here and you will talk about the business as relates to our village, but not one of you talk about any business.
There is now growing talk of a recall petition, giving the people of Dolton the opportunity to vote on whether Mayor Tiffany Henyard should remain in office. If successful, a recall effort could lead to significant political upheaval, allowing residents to change the leadership. Beyond highlighting Henyard's alleged misconduct, the town hall incident has also exposed deep-rooted frustrations within the Dolton community. Many locals feel that Henyard has become the sole authority in the town, which they believe is being run more like a private enterprise than a public institution. The lack of transparency and her apparent resistance to constructive dialogue have fueled these concerns, further eroding trust in her leadership. Many residents of Dolton feel abandoned and disenfranchised, but despite the challenges, some remain hopeful that this incident will spark positive change. Community leaders and activists are already planning initiatives aimed at addressing what they view as systemic issues within the local government. These efforts include campaigns to promote transparency in governance, calls for thorough financial audits, and advocacy for regular community forums where residents can voice their concerns without fear of retaliation. As one local leader put it, "This could be our turning point." Many residents of Dolton feel abandoned and disenfranchised, but despite the challenges, some remain hopeful that this incident will spark positive change. Community leaders and activists are already planning initiatives aimed at addressing what they view as systemic issues within the local government. These efforts include campaigns to promote transparency in governance, calls for thorough financial audits, and advocacy for regular community forums where residents can voice their concerns without fear of retaliation. As one local leader put it, "This could be our turning point." The Dolton community is calling for clearer communication and collaboration with their leaders, but it remains uncertain whether Mayor Tiffany Henyard will face legal repercussions, resign, or attempt to weather the fallout from the incident. Her explosive behavior during the town hall meeting has sparked widespread controversy and drawn attention to long-standing issues within her administration. The event has ignited a community eager for change and raised serious concerns about accountability in local government. For those unfamiliar with the situation, here's what you need to know about Tiffany Henyard's tenure. Among the most contentious issues is her use of taxpayer money to promote her own image. Recently, banners promoting Henyard and her brand were unveiled, likely as part of her strategy for re-election. However, these banners came at a significant cost, funds that many believe could have been better allocated elsewhere, leading to frustration and criticism from the public. What initially appeared to be pure self-promotion took an interesting turn when it was revealed that Tiffany Henyard's appointee, Burge, wasn't even qualified to serve as chief because he hadn't been actively working as a police officer, an issue that only came to light 2 days ago. Here's the situation. Kamal Woods, known as Mr. Dots, and Burge had recently been appointed to the chief position, and the team was working together to remove banners promoting Henyard. The trustees and Keith Freeman had hired a company to handle the removal process, but things took an unexpected twist. Word of the operation seemingly reached Henyard, who arrived with her entourage and attempted to stop it. She claimed she had fired Keith Freeman, even though the board had not authorized his dismissal. This escalating situation has raised more questions, with things growing increasingly complicated and intriguing as new details emerge. In September, Tiffany Henyard attempted to appoint Michael Dots as the village administrator without the village's consent. This move has raised suspicions, especially considering her current actions. It's strikingly coincidental that she's now pushing her own agenda by claiming that her signs are being taken down, despite the fact that the majority of them were funded by taxpayer money, not her own. Keith Freeman, whom Henyard claims to have fired, is still very much alive, and her statements about him are untrue. What's even more curious is Freeman's continued presence. Despite being laid off, he seems to have no clear reason to be around, yet he's still lingering in the area, which only adds to the growing confusion surrounding the situation. Despite being laid off, Keith Freeman has been seen with Mayor Henyard, raising questions about his ongoing involvement with the village. There are also growing concerns about Henyard's handling of the situation. She's now threatening to file charges against the contracting company hired to remove her signs, which many view as an overreaction. It's particularly puzzling since she has already spoken to the company's supervisor and learned that there was an agreement in place, an agreement she was unaware of. Given this, it seems illogical to pursue charges against the workers. This series of events has highlighted a broader issue. Henyard appears to have lost control of both the government she leads and the narrative surrounding her actions. Meanwhile, she's teasing a big announcement, but the details remain unclear. The situation has become even more complicated as Mayor Henyard seems to be treating the banners, funded by taxpayer money, as her personal property. Initially, she referred to them as government signs, but now she is acting as though they belong solely to her. The banners, which were used to promote herself and her brand, are public property, not private property. The workers involved were simply following clear instructions from their supervisor to take down the signs, yet Henyard's unexpected arrival only added confusion and tension to the situation. Despite their actions being part of their job, Henyard is now threatening legal action, suggesting that some of her opponents could face arrest and charges, which has raised further concerns. The workers had no personal stake in the removal of the banners, yet Mayor Henyard made the situation difficult for them. The idea of charging them with a crime seemed absurd, but that's exactly what was happening in the heated exchange between the workers and the police, with Henyard acting as the translator and relaying her instructions to the officers. This incident is just the beginning of a larger power struggle, with key positions such as the village administrator and police chief up for grabs. Lawyers are now involved as the situation continues to unfold. The confusion has only deepened recently as multiple meetings are being held, one at the Park District and another at Village Hall, and the back and forth between officials and community members shows no sign of resolving anytime soon. Meetings are now taking place at the Park District, signaling the start of a deepening rift where confusion reigns, and no one seems to know what's truly going on. Henyard continues to put herself in increasingly complicated situations. Later, Burge will appear, but even in September, he had no right to serve as a police officer. It's puzzling that DeMarcus is still following the mayor's orders, especially since he was fired and no longer works for the village. This behavior highlights why Henyard keeps finding herself in trouble. She openly defies the rules and does so without any subtlety. Her defiance is loud, clear, and hard to ignore. It's clear that Burge was instructed to remove the banners, not destroy them, so he returned them to Henyard. Now she has her signs back, but once again, Henyard is breaking the law and making questionable decisions that don't seem to make sense. Even though some employees were laid off and Burge was informed he was no longer the chief, he continued to wear his uniform and badge. Additionally, there have been rumors circulating that staff members have been concealing vehicles they were supposed to return to the village. This kind of behavior continues to surface whenever the situation is discussed, raising even more questions about the administration's actions.
Several agenda items still haven't been touched. Tonight's meeting, as is par for the course, has consisted of a tug-of-war between Mayor Tiffany Henyard and several.
Tiffany Henyard's chaotic leadership continues to raise concerns, especially regarding her handling of the police department. Ronald Burge, who wasn't actively serving as a police officer, was appointed as the new chief despite his lack of proper qualifications. His appointment followed a vote of no confidence in Deputy Chief Louis Lacey, and the situation became more complicated when Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards issued a formal letter questioning Henyard's decision. The letter strongly rebukes her appointment of Burge, highlighting not only the rushed nature of the decision, but also the significant legal issues it created. This incident is nearly unbelievable. Despite the apparent illogical nature of her actions, Henyard allowed Burge to function as a police officer without following proper procedures. Burge was seen carrying a firearm, flashing a badge, and wearing a uniform, yet he wasn't officially authorized to be an officer. The failure of Henyard's administration to submit the necessary paperwork to activate his status creates a major safety concern and reflects a serious disregard for proper procedure. This is far beyond a simple paperwork oversight. It's a question of responsibility and accountability in leadership.
At this point, Ronald Burge isn't actually a police officer because he hasn't completed the required firearm certification since 2018, meaning he is legally prohibited from carrying a weapon while on duty. The letter from the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards makes it clear that a law enforcement officer's certification must be activated with each new appointment before they can lawfully exercise any police authority or carry a firearm in public. It's hard to tell whether Mayor Henyard is willfully ignoring these facts or simply unaware of their significance, but either way, it's a serious issue. It's likely that the judge was unaware of Burge's lack of authority to perform any duties, as it's obvious to any police officer that background checks and proper certification are crucial. It's entirely unethical to put someone in uniform who may endanger themselves or others due to insufficient training. This letter also states that Dolton's attempt to formally recognize Burge as chief is denied until all the required paperwork is filed and thoroughly examined. In essence, the message is simple. Before issuing a badge and a weapon, ensure all necessary documentation is in order. This is standard procedure, but Henyard's actions demonstrate a blatant disregard for these essential steps, as if she believes she can operate outside the established rules. Mayor Henyard's ask questions later mentality has only underscored the recklessness of her administration. Her repeated attempts to fire and install police chiefs without following proper procedures have created a chaotic image of her leadership style. The reappointment of former Dolton police chief, who served in the early 2000s without controversy, suggests that Henyard views police chiefs as interchangeable parts, a revolving door that undermines the department and frustrates officers committed to serving the community. It seems clear that the board needs to step in and re-educate her, reminding the mayor of what should be common sense. The letter sent to Henyard reinforces that it's her duty to conduct thorough background checks on anyone appointed to a position of authority. It emphasizes that appointing someone to a critical role, like police chief, can't be done hastily out of loyalty. It requires thorough screening, approval, and verification that all requirements are met. The recent example of Burge acting as a police officer before his official certification highlights Henyard's impetuous leadership, one that bends the rules and disregards the long-term consequences. By ignoring these protocols, Henyard not only breaks the law but also risks the safety of Dolton's residents. The letter isn't just a warning, it's a wake-up call, urging her to follow established procedures and stop treating the mayor's office like her personal domain. As residents grow more frustrated with her choices and trustees become increasingly weary of her actions, it's clear that her approach is beginning to resemble a reckless game of, "What can I get away with today?" rather than the sound governance that Dolton desperately needs.